Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Mondays Down South. Out here rocking my office gear. We got LaMelo Ball on the call with his newly drafted Charlotte Hornets team. We got Evan Maroney with his Wizards picking right now, so hopefully he's not too distracted during this intro. As always, we're excited to have you guys listening, and we got the NBA draft going on right now. We got football to talk about. We got a little bit of baseball to talk about. We got NBA rumors. I mean, it's just a good day to be recording some sports podcasts, guys. And you guys want to jump right into it? You guys got some hot takes for me? Zebo, I'll start with you in case Ev has a pick to report after.
That works for me. My hot take's going to be a little bit different here. I was flipping through just the internet a couple of days ago, and I came across the backyard sports games. I'm not sure if you guys remember the backyard sports games. We're talking Pete Wheeler. We're talking Pablo Sanchez. We're talking backyard baseball, backyard football. We would have like some cameo appearances of who was it? Oh my gosh. Donovan McNabb, Dante Culpepper,
Ichiro Suzuki,
Drew Bledsoe. It was incredible. And so I was thinking about those games, and my hot take is I think the backyard sports games are the best games of all time, better than Super Smash Bros. And Nintendo 64, which I know is going to anger a lot of people, better than Mario Party, any of those games. I think backyard sports was a part of my childhood more so than any of those other games. Now, don't get me wrong. Those other games are awesome. Super Smash in particular, the original ones. But I think backyard sports was more meaningful to me and hopefully other people as well than any other game growing up. So that's my hot take. Throwing it a little bit different here, but I'm interested to see what you guys think about that one.
Go ahead, bro.
I love it, man. Those games are a pastime. I mean, all of them, from the baseball, even the hockey, all of them. I played them all. I mean, I loved it on the PC especially. I mean, just all good stuff, you know.
I think I'm just hoping we don't lose any followers as a result of this. No subscribers or anything like that. You know, like I won't fight this one hard because I personally do absolutely love those games. I mean, they're up there for me. Like you said, we grew up on those. There's a nostalgia attached to it. I mean, when you mentioned them, I had the biggest smile on my face. Like, I'm with you there, Zach. There have been a lot of great games in this world. I mean, you got the Smash Bros. Of the world, like we were talking about. You got the Pokemon games growing up that people were obsessed with. You got a lot of other games. But you know what? When we're talking in the realm of sports, I'm going to say sports specific. I will agree with you. They were the greatest games designed and set up a whole conglomerate of sports games down the road for young fans to develop into. So I'm with you. Moving on over to you, buddy. What you got?
Yeah, so my hot take, and this is really bad timing, but and it kind of cues up a good conversation on the NBA. But so I have to caveat it now because kind of breaking news earlier today, Klay Thompson seems like he has a really bad leg injury. So who knows what it is, but it sounds bad. So if he's healthy, which it sounds like he's not, but the Warriors are a problem and are going to make the Western Conference Finals next year. Now that they got James Wiseman tonight, you have Steph and, you know, I was hoping Klay coming back, but I guess not. And then Draymond in there, Andrew Wiggins in there, and now Wiseman, who I think is just the perfect fit to get as a big that can run the floor, defend, rebound. Like I think they're in good shape to reload, slightly retooled, and make it back to the Western Conference Finals and challenge the likes of the Lakers for that spot in the finals.
So Zach, when we have this conversation with Ev, let's approach it with let's just assume, you know, with us knowing nothing, let's just pretend and assume Klay Thompson is completely healthy. Do you agree with Evan? Do you think they would be the Western Conference champions if next year?
I said make it to the Western Conference Finals, not necessarily make it to the finals.
Oh, the finals. Okay, that's on me then. That's on me.
Yeah, it's an interesting take. As much as I love Steph, I think those days are done. Now, don't get me wrong, James Wiseman is going to be a supreme upgrade from Festus Ezeli and whoever the heck was running the center position in Golden State. Because in all fairness, that is truly that was what they were missing the last couple years, and now they have that in Wiseman, who's going to be terrific for them. I've been high on this guy, just watching his film and his highlights on YouTube and whatnot. But I think the West has also gotten significantly better. Like I now think the teams that were previously from like the 3rd to 5th seed. Like we're talking like the Denver Nuggets, we're talking the Utah Jazz. I think those teams are heads and shoulders better than the Golden State Warriors. And I also think with another year of age, not saying that Steph and Clay are washed by any means, I think they still have plenty of years ahead of them. But I think the rest of basketball has caught up to them in a way. I think there's easier ways to defend them or play them. They obviously, they still have Draymond, but they've lost a couple of other key pieces. They've lost a lot of their bench players. They've lost Iguodala, who was an MVP just 4 or 5 years ago for them in the finals. So I'm out on that one. I just think the Western Conference has become more competitive the last couple of years, especially with the Lakers and the Clippers, as well as some of those mid-tier teams like the Nuggets and Jazz. So I'm out on Evan's claim, but I think it's an interesting idea. And Si, I'm curious to see what your stance on it is.
So I actually think, interestingly enough, the West might get a little bit weaker this year, based on where guys like Harden and Westbrook get traded, and the fact that the East, you got teams like the Bucks and the Sixers and the Nets trying to make big moves. So you might see a little bit more balance of power shift in the NBA, especially with Kyrie and KD back. However, with that being said, I don't know that I agree with you, Zach, in that I don't know that I think the Jazz or the Nuggets are leaps and bounds better than the Warriors. They might not even be better than the Warriors. I think what a fully healthy Clay and Steph and adding Wiseman and having Wiggins and, having Draymond and having Kerr in that organization, I do think the Warriors are still in the conversation for, one of the top teams in the West. But I don't know how much I trust the fit of Wiseman and Wiggins right off the bat playing with Steph and Clay. They haven't played together yet. I do think, Steph is one of the more malleable superstars in the league in terms of he can make anything work. Clay is obviously incredible. He could go to any team and be great. But the point that I'm trying to make is this is very far removed from the Warriors team that we very recently saw with KD. And even if you think about the Warriors teams pre-KD, we're talking about teams that had like your veteran presence of guys like Andre Iguodala, Livingston, all these older vets that knew their roles and knew how to play into their roles and knew how to be clutch. And I don't know that they have that anymore. I think it's going to be a lot more of reliance on Steph and Clay to figure it out. And when I look at it that way, their strength was always playing together as a team. And I don't know that they'd have that team dynamic of previous years, which is why I don't think I'd pick them. And I also think that regardless of if Clay was fully healthy or not, the two best teams in the West are still the two LA teams. Even though the Clippers had a little fallout last playoffs, I still think that they have all the pieces and the ability to bounce right back and compete with anybody next year. So I have a hard time seeing those Warriors beat the Lakers or the Clippers.
Si, you got a hot take?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I was debating between talking about the Nets or talking about my Mets, ironically enough. But I'm gonna talk about my Mets because I don't know if I already made this take, and maybe I'm doubling down here. But more than ever, I'm gonna make this tape. And I'm going to knock on wood as I say it because I never make proclamations like this about my team. But the Mets are going to win the World Series in the next 3 years, man. I mean, we are like with the way the market is going and with the way things are shaking out and with the way money is shaping up and with the amount of investment we're putting into executives and players, or at least as assumed to be put into executive and players, we're in a really dang good spot right now to make big moves and basically do whatever we want to do in this market. I don't know if you heard the news today, Zach. Ev and I were talking about it. Unfortunately, Robinson Cano tested positive for PEDs again. I think he got caught using the spray or whatever it was. And as most of you already know, and I've mentioned several times, we did add Steve Cohen, who is now the wealthiest owner in the MLB, by like 3 times the next guy. So we have the money, we have Alderson, we're adding people, and we have a ton of payroll. And then this Robinson Cano news has led to us now having $24 million to play with this offseason. So basically, when you're looking at MLB rumors right now, Ev and I were talking about this, and Ev, we were cracking up about this. Every single player the Mets are tied to. Like, it's like it doesn't matter position, it doesn't matter what they're doing, who they are. It's like the Mets are in on them. And as a guy who's been used to years and years and years of obscurity in terms of free agency, given our previous Bernie Madoff scandal, Wilpon ownership, it is mind-boggling to even think of the possibilities. And That's why I'm just going to go out and make this bold take that we are going to win the World Series in the next 3 years. It's super bold. I hope I'm not jinxing anything. I knock on wood as I say it, but I'm just excited. So I have to say it. I'm just so excited. I'm really excited. Yeah.
I mean, I tend to, have the anti-Mets stance. So, but I mean, obviously here, I can't blame you for getting excited, and I can't really even argue that take. I mean, I'm not quite as high on the young kind of core that a lot of people are pretty high on there. Like Conforto looks really good, but like a lot of the McNeil's solid, but I'm not quite as high on a lot of that young core. And the pitching, I think, obviously you're going to put the money there, so we'll see what happens. But again, I'm not that high on Syndergaard anymore. So we'll just have to see. But I mean, overall, like you said, with the money out there and the guys that are out there, the Springers, the Realmutos, trading for Lindor, like the options are endless at this point. So, it's easy to dream on any combination of those players, Trevor Bauer. And I think the biggest thing is, like you touched on, that Cohen's kind of come in and done it the right way. Like he said, I'm going to run it like my hedge fund. I'm going to build from the foundation up. Like we're going to invest in analytics, like all that good stuff. So I think it's hard not to be excited. I can't blame you there. We'll see what happens, but yeah, I mean, they're in a good spot right now for sure. It's just a matter of how it all comes together and, what moves they decide to make. And we'll just have to see. I mean, the division is going to be good though. I mean, the Marlins, I think, are going to be good. Shout out their GM hire and Kim Ang. Cool
First
hire
female.
there. And then the Braves are going to be a powerhouse for years to come. So
Yeah.
see what happens, but I can't blame you for being excited right now. And they're kind of
I was just going to say, that's why it's a hot take,
yeah.
right? That's why it's a hot take, right? Because people are so used to us not being relevant, at least only relevant for very small samples, which is why I was like, it's a hot take. I'm going to just go out there and say it. And yes, good point. Marlins hiring the first female GM in MLB history, which was a pretty cool new thing. So that's definitely worth shouting out. But yeah, but future will tell, but I just had to say it.
And I did have a chuckle moment at Robbie Cano getting suspended, like we were talking about, forfeiting the 20-some million or whatever he was scheduled to make, which is kind of great news. I mean, he had a great year, but it's great news for the Mets to open up that cash. And if I pivot, another similar situation in the NBA that the Sixers were able to get out of Al Horford's contract today, which is similar, like massive addition by subtraction, in that they're able to get out of that over 4 years and free up that cap. It's a similar kind of situation. So big move for them as well.
Who plays more games next year, Cano or Cespedes? Didn't Cespedes just go, peace out, I'm out midway through the season? Is he even a part of the Mets next year?
It'll be a tie.
No, it'll be Cespedes, because somebody will sign him as like a DH or something like that. So he'll play. But that's a great note, dude. Daryl Morey is a genius. I mean, I didn't think they'd ever be able to get out of that Al Horford contract, but that is massive for them in terms of payroll flexibility going forward. They still have the Tobias Harris one, but if they end up trading a Simmons or Embiid for a Harden, or even if they don't, like, this gives them a lot more room to work with, because Horford was making close to max money, if not max money. They got Danny Green for 1 year, and this is why Morey's a genius. His contract is like, what, 14 to 18 million for 1 year, and then they lose Danny Green's contract, and they gave up a first and second, but in reality their first round pick isn't going to be higher than a top, in the 20s. So it was a great deal by Moore. Shout out to that guy. He's a genius. I love watching the way he maneuvers basketball. With that being said, let's jump into to the NFL, because I know that's our usual point that we end up spending a good bit of time on. And before we get into next week, we got to talk about this week. What do you guys got? Do you guys got any particular matchups or games or storylines you want to point to? Anything that stood out to y'all?
Yeah, I could probably start off here. So speaking of contracts, what a great contract acquisition that the Arizona Cardinals got with getting DeAndre Hopkins and trading away David Johnson, who is actually on waivers as of today in some of our leagues. So not even currently picked up by a team. Now I know he's in concussion protocol, and Godspeed recovery to him. But overall, I mean, D-Hop is killing it right now. And I know he had a couple of games where he, shied away from the amount of touchdowns that he had experienced earlier in the season. But man, that Buffalo Bills Arizona Cardinals game went down to the wire, where the Arizona Cardinals, it was a home game. They were leading 26-23 at home going into the final minute of the fourth quarter. Buffalo is able to convert on a 27-yard touchdown pass from Mr. Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs, and then Kyler Murray doing Kyler-oriented things, scrambling left juking out a defensive end, scrambling left again, getting to the sideline there, and he just chucks it up for grabs, and D-Hop comes down with it on top of 3 defenders. Guys, I'm not sure if you saw the post-game interview with D-Hop, but he goes like this. And they were like, what does that mean? He goes, oh, that's just the signal of when you get dunked on. It's like the NBA signal of when you get dunked on by someone. And, all power to him. What a phenomenal game from 2 playoff teams. And that was one that I think stood out the most and definitely wanted to talk about.
Yeah, D-Hop is built different. There's no disputing that. And I think we've been on that train for a long time now. Whether he had Savage, Watson, or it didn't matter who the quarterback was, you throw him the football, he's going to catch it. That's the kind of player that he is. So he'll succeed in any system. The one thing that gets me is another win for the Cardinals, and good for them. I don't want to take anything away from them. But have we ever seen a more flashy team that necessarily isn't as good as the paper and record would indicate? Because they won that game because of the Hail Mary. And I'm not trying to take the Hail Mary away from them because it counts. And at the end of the day, it's a win in the book. But that's another one where it came down to the wire. And admittedly, the Bills are a good team. So I'm not saying it should have been an easy win for them, but I'm just saying it just seems like this seems to happen a lot with the Cardinals. And I'm wondering if I should be taking them as seriously as some of the other teams in their conference or in their division or not, because I'm still a little bit torn on their potential there. So especially because the Seahawks and the Rams are very confusing in their own right. And then the 49ers, who I feel the worst for, because if they're fully healthy, they might have been the best team in that division. And every single week they can't catch a break. I just heard that Javon Kinlaw just got put on the COVID list. So after losing, half their defense, they now lost their rookie to COVID. So, they just can't catch a break right now. So I'm just curious to see what you guys think of the Cardinals in terms of, are they actually very good? Are they barely above average? Are they average just playing above expectations? What do you guys think?
Yeah, and just to touch on Hop, I think the most amazing thing about all this, in addition to what you guys said, he's not that tall. He's 6'1", if I'm not mistaken. So for him to go do that over multiple guys, you kind of assume he's this huge receiver, but he's really not, which is insane how high he can jump. But anyway, onto the Cardinals. The Bills are not only a good team, I think they might even be a top 3 to 5 team in the NFL. So to beat them, yeah, you are at home. It's hard, even with winning on a Hail Mary, it's hard to take anything away from the Cardinals there. I continue to be impressed by them more than I thought I would be. And right now, all 3 of those teams are tied, if I'm not mistaken. Why not? Why can't they win the division? They got their second crack at Seattle this weekend, a really banged up Seattle team. And if they can win that, then it's going to be hard for Seattle to top them, given that they'll have the tiebreaker over there in head to head. And I think they're better than the Rams. So I could see them winning that division. Which is hard for me to say because I was kind of anti-Cardinals at the beginning of the year, but keep winning.
Yeah, and it's a good question you bring up, Sai, because as Ev just touched on, Arizona has already beaten Seattle once. So they already have the tie break. Now, albeit they got to play tomorrow night here. We're going to see what happens. But they've also beaten opponents that Seattle has not been able to beat. Seattle was not able to defeat Buffalo. And Arizona is able to come in there and win at home at the very last second. So, we're seeing statistically Arizona being put above Seattle. Now, I don't know if I buy that. I still think it's going to be difficult playing against and defeating for the second time the MVP in the running right here in Russell Wilson. Now, I know he's slowed down a little bit. I know Seattle is experiencing yet again injuries at the running back front. I'm not sure if Chris Carson's going to be able to go. It looks like it's a no for this week. So it'll be interesting. I'm very excited for this Thursday night game. But to Sai's point, just from the eye test, I still think Seattle's going to win this division. And I still think they're the best team in the NFC West, despite the fact that the stats are providing otherwise.
You know what I think the irony is? And this points to what Zach said at the beginning of the season. I think we're talking so much about Seattle and Arizona, and there's the Rams sitting there with the same record. And we keep saying every week, yeah, it's the Rams. Yeah, it's the Rams. Well, they're sitting there with the same record. And Seattle and Arizona definitely have more flashiness when you look at their teams in terms of the kinds of playmakers and stuff that they have on the offensive side. But if you're talking about overall well-rounded teams, who's to say the Rams aren't the most well-rounded team in that division? When you look at the defense and offense and the way they play football, they might be the best coaches. If you look at Sean McVay his track record, even though he had a rough year last year. We're talking about a guy that went to the Super Bowl the year before. So it's not like the Rams are just somebody to sleep on. For all we know, they could end up winning that division, which is what's so funny about it, because I don't remember the last time I've seen a division where three of the teams have six, and they're all 6-3, and yet I'm so torn on whether they're actually great teams or just like all three teams are playing above expectation. Like that's where I'm honestly at right now, and that's what's so crazy about that situation, because everyone keeps saying, oh, it's the best division in the NFL. And if you're talking about record wise, it's definitely the best division in the NFL. But if you're talking about like top end talent, is it though? Like that's the question I keep asking myself, which is why I pose it. But that's why I think it was a good discussion point.
Yeah. And of the three teams, I mean, the Rams are the only one that really play defense. I mean, I think the Cardinals have had their moments this year when they play defense, but like Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, like that defense, not only is it solid, but it's, a top flight defense in the NFL. And they just lost Whitworth, which really hurts their offensive line for the next few weeks. But you got like a 3-horse thing out of the backfield. All are decent. Like the receivers are awesome. I'm not a big Goff fan. I don't know if any of you guys are, but I do think they probably are the most balanced and complete team. I think the Seahawks probably have the highest ceiling once you get Carson healthy, and hopefully you can figure out who in the secondary can, make some plays for you. But I don't know. Right now it is hard to argue against the Rams being, the best of the three. But I think it's a coin flip really on all three of them.
Yeah, Zach might come out on top here. Go ahead, buddy.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I was high on the Rams before the season started. If you guys want to refer back to one of our initial
episodes, what I was talking about.
When I said that they were a top 5 team coming into this season. So, they're making my predictions look somewhat good, albeit the 95% of them are looking terrible right now. But we'll have to wait and see. I guess my question is, Ev, do you have another game here? Do you want to talk the Washington game, or do you want to go another route?
No, I mean, the Washington game, very disappointing. Chase Young completely blew it. Tough loss. But I mean,
Washington fan.
Yeah, I think the biggest news has to be Drew Brees, right? And the injury, and then where do the Saints go from there? So the Saints get an impressive win, losing Drew Brees at halftime. Obviously, you lose him for, I think they said best case is like 2 to 3 weeks, but it sounds like it's going to be longer than that. So, they used Jameis primarily in the second half. What do you guys think the plan is moving forward, and how do you adjust your Saints outlook without Drew?
I honestly don't think my outlook on the Saints changes a ton, because at the end of the day, all they really need to do right now is make the playoffs. I think that's their goal. They're set up in a very good position record-wise to do it. They've already played the Bucs twice, so they've gotten their toughest division opponent out of the way and beaten them twice. I also think Sean Payton is an incredible coach. They're going to lean on Kamara all day, every day. Like that dude is going to get so many carries and receptions. And I actually think Latavius Murray is going to factor in a lot now too, because they'll start using that 2-headed monster. And Michael Thomas is back, and every week he gets a little bit better. And let's be honest, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Michael Thomas is going to beast when he's healthy. And Jameis Winston has proven that his receivers can have a ton of success. Basically, the main thing that's going to need to happen is Sean Payton is going to have, and the rest of the Saints offense, and Drew Brees on the sideline until he gets healthy, is going to have to teach Jameis Winston not to throw the ball to the other team. If they can teach Jameis Winston to just take the easy throws and not force anything and just move the offense the same way Drew Brees has been, because it's not like Drew Brees has been playing at some incredibly elite level, then I don't see a huge regression for the Saints, because their defense has been getting better and they have all their playmakers back. And I think they're going to still be able to compete with essentially any team out there, just the way they're coached and the way they're set up. Use of Payton's son, Mr. Taysom Hill, will be interesting to see how he factors in. Zach, I'm going to kick it over to you, because I could talk about the Saints all day. So.
Yeah, I've got an interesting take on this. And before I start, I will congratulate my nemesis MDS conglomerate in our auction league for nabbing Taysom Hill as a quarterback end. That was a phenomenal steal by you guys. If you guys play him at that tight end position this week, which I'm sure you guys will be doing. But what's interesting about the Saints is, you're right, Si. Like, they're not necessarily concerned about the playoff bye. They're just concerned about making the playoffs at this point. And there's only one that gets up this year. So it's not really like that's as much of an issue as it normally would be. So they're not worried about record. They just need to make the playoffs. So now it comes to a conversation of, what can they do? Because they've been in this water before where Breeze got injured with his finger last year and he was out for 3 weeks, and they had Bridgewater in. The difference is Teddy Bridgewater is a much different quarterback than Jameis Winston. Teddy was a game manager. He came in immediately. He had that pocket presence. He got the ball out quickly, normally down the middle of the field or just a quick out to the flat. Jameis likes to throw the ball downfield and the field far. He's got quite the arm. He's actually the opposite player of Drew Brees this season. And so what's going to be interesting is how they go about play calling with Jameis in the huddle, because that could get very dangerous very quickly. With Jameis, I've definitely seen spurts of greatness, but I've seen more spurts of, oh my gosh, what is he doing? Like the Jameis throw, right? The 30 for 30, he had to get his eyes checked, etc. So I actually see the Saints struggling. I don't think Jameis is going to play very well over the next couple of weeks. Now, depending on how you look at it, the Falcons and the Falcons, 3 very winnable games. I could actually see them losing twice to the Falcons. And the reason I say that is because their offense could turn the ball over. And if they do that, they get out of their mojo. The Falcons have a good passing offense, and they're going to put up points. But if James struggles offensively, I could see them down 17-3, 2010, very early in the ball game. And we all know, based on history, when Jameis is down, he just starts to throw 40, 50 times in a game. And normally 3 or 4 of those are interceptions. So that's kind of my thought on it. I think they're going to need to get Breeze as quick as possible.
Yeah, I don't know if you have anything, but one thing I will say is Jameis, even on the Bucs, was tearing up that Atlanta defense. Take Jameis and put him on Sean Payton's offense with MT, and I think he'll be all right in terms of carving up your defense. I will say I probably have Atlanta winning at least one of those, and then on top of that, Alvin Kamara is unstoppable. I mean, I don't. Jameis doesn't have to be very for Kamara good. You just got to get the ball in his hands, and he'll do the work. So that's the one thing. I guess the health of Calvin Ridley and how well he bounces back will make a big difference in that matchup. But yeah, what you got?
No, I think, and the other thing to add is now you're in a situation where when you have Breeze out there and you're the opponent, like it's a little more straightforward how to prepare. Like, the weapons, everything's out there. But now you're in a situation where you have Jameis and you have Taysom Hill, at least for this first game. You don't know how they're going to split up that usage. Like, you assume it's going to be, more Taysom Hill, but you just don't know. And you don't know which Jameis you're really getting either. It seemed almost he was a little more tame when he came in the second half. They didn't have to throw that much. So I just think it's like, how do you prepare for this now? Because you don't know what you're getting. So it's going to be interesting. I don't think it hurts them too bad. I mainly agree with you, Cy. They're going to play decent defense. And I'm glad you mentioned Latavius Murray. Like, even in a situation where Kamara is still healthy, he's shown that he can take on more load. They can run the ball more with him. And obviously they're just going to feed Kamara and Michael Thomas. So it's going to be interesting, but I'm looking forward to seeing how the Jameis Taysom Hill thing splits out. Because I think that could ultimately be really hard to prepare for if you're a defense. And I think it's like we talked about at the beginning of the year, shout out Michael Dolan. We had this conversation, but it was like the Breeze is washed, which I'll admit to being one of those guys, as well as I think Dolan to an extent. So it's like, now we're going to find out, we're going to find out if they really can be as explosive, if not more, with Jameis and what that's going to look like. So I'm excited to see what happens. And Zach, to your point, I almost think, Jameis is like, if you do fall behind, Jameis can bring you back. Like, he might end up throwing 3 picks, but he also might bring you back with 3 touchdowns. So he can bring you from behind. You could argue even more so than Breeze, given that Jameis can throw the ball further downfield. Breeze is so methodical that it's hard to beat that. But it's going to be interesting. But I don't think they miss too much, at least over the next few weeks.
Can I throw one more game out there? I got to say it 3 times because this is a big one for me.
I wasn't sure if that was our technical difficulties acting up again.
No. That was very intentional. How about them Colts? How about them Colts? There's no way I was coming on this podcast and not bringing them up. How about them Colts? What do y'all think of that? I mean, I'm just saying, like, I wasn't surprised. I said it to y'all before. Getting some of our receivers back was going to make the difference. And I think we just went out there and made a statement against the Titans. I almost cursed, and I I had to stop myself because even thinking about that game is getting me amped up. But how about them Colts?
Yeah, all I recall, to be honest, Si, is that ribeye from Texas Roadhouse, because that's where we went out to watch the game, or at least the first half. So for me, it was a comedy fest. Because
wait. Oh, on Thursday. I was thinking you guys did Sunday games at Texas Roadhouse. I was like, whoa, what are we doing here?
That'd be an issue. Their TV setup is not quality, but it's fantastic food. But anyway, so shout out, if you're listening to this, Texas Roadhouse, give us a subscribe.
Free steaks, please.
All right. So anyway, so getting into the game, it was actually comic relief for me. It was like dinner and a show because I was able to eat this fantastic food, but also watch Cy go crazy over the lackluster Colts, or should I say untapped Colts potential in that first half, because we said our goodbyes. We watched the second half from home, and man, it was like a different team came out in the second half. I immediately texted you after Cy, and I was like, or I texted the group and I was like, this is incredible. Like, this is a completely different team. Like, what are the Colts doing? And I think they were just operating very effectively and efficiently. And this is what they saw in Phillip Rivers this entire time, because Phillip Rivers, he is a leader. He can get the ball down the field if he has methodical offense around him and he actually trusts his receivers. And speaking of one that he had to trust, was Michael Pittman. What a phenomenal performance by that man. And honestly, I think he's taken over pretty predominantly at the number one wide receiving position for this team from here on out. So just all around, a great offense efficiency, and better yet, your defense clamping down on Ryan Tannehill. I mean, he was struggling. They took Derrick Henry out of the game because they had to go pass heavy. And when you take Derrick Henry out of the game, good things happen if you're the opposing team.
Yeah, can I just say the stakes were high for me at Texas Roadhouse? Just throw that dad joke in there real quick. Ev, go ahead.
That one went way over my head. But yeah, no, impressive win by the Colts. I don't know. I still think it'll be a little up and down with that offense. Like, but that kind of solidifies them as I think the best team in that division. We'll see what comes. But yeah, we love us some Michael Pittman here at MDS Conglomerate. Speaking of,
we do indeed.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously super impressive win to go on the road. We'll just have to see how the weeks unfold. Obviously, they have a big matchup upcoming with Green Bay, so another litmus test for them. But yeah, I mean, tough to argue. Nyheim Hines, huge game as well. Shout out him, but huge win.
Maybe you bringing up this weekend's matchup is a perfect reason to jump into the picks. Unless Zach's got something, I see you about to say something.
No, I'm just saying. I would really like Taysom Hill and Michael Pittman. So if you guys need a win, which you guys can shell out a couple, because I'm sitting over here at 10-0. So just let me know if you guys need a win. I can take a player off your hands.
Well, Zach, speaking of getting lucky on the Hail Mary, you wouldn't have won without that Hail Mary. So
yeah,
don't get too cocky over there.
Hey, nonetheless, when somebody is 10-0 in fantasy football, you got to tip your hat to them. So I tip the hat, sir. That's an impressive 10-0, sir. That's an impressive 10-0. Yep. All right, we'll jump into our picks. We'll see you in the playoffs, indeed. Let's jump into our picks, guys. I know we're getting into it. Zebo, you want to tee us up here?
I think Ev's going to go over the analytics first.
Ooh.
Yeah, quickly, actually. Big winner last week was our guest picker, Lou, who went 11-3 and was 6.3 units profitable, which is the best week anyone's had on this show. Wow. Guest or host. So he dominated. Everyone else did well as well. Myself and Cy went 10-4, and we're also about profitable in about 3 units. And then Zach was 9-5, also profitable. So everyone was profitable and did really well. So.
Except for our 3 bets.
except for the actual decisions we made.
I had to throw that in there, guys.
Well, I mean, I think you get some bad luck. Seahawks looked like trash, but the over-under bet, which was your lock, we didn't know it was going to be a monsoon, and they almost covered it. They almost went over anyway. So overall,
week one, we'll shake off the cobwebs. We'll bounce back hard. I mean, we knew it. I said this on the podcast. It's like the moment we start putting money where out there, things are going to change. And of course, that's exactly what happened, but it's okay. Let's jump into this week. Let's make the right picks, and let's make the right picks this weekend. So when Ev's in town this weekend, we can enjoy them together. Zach, tee us up, baby.
Sounds good. All right, first game Thursday night. Arizona Cardinals playing at Seattle. Both teams are 6-3. Huge divisional matchup. Spread is 3 Seattle's way, so you got that 3-point spread. It's pretty much even, but with the home field, Seattle's 3 points. Ev, who you got?
I'm gonna pick Arizona because of all the injuries. Like, it's really hard to pick Seattle to go three losses in a row, especially at home where they play really well. But like, Carson looks like he will be out. Lockett looks like he'll play, but he's not fully healthy. And Seattle didn't look good last week, so I'm gonna take Arizona.
Yeah, I'm going to take Seattle at home. I don't expect Wilson to lose 3 in a row. I think they'll figure it out. I think their offense will ball out, even if they let up a lot of points on defense. I'm taking Seattle.
Seattle at home as well. I think it goes big. Moving on to our 1 p.m. matchups here. We got the Philadelphia Eagles looking desperately for a win here, playing against the Cleveland Browns, who beat the Texans 10-7 last week. Very odd game. Regardless, the spread right now is Cleveland 3.5. Sai, you can start this one off. Who you got? Yeah, Cleveland.
Yeah,
Philly.
I'm taking Philly.
Really?
I'm taking Philly.
Okay, interesting. Ev?
Yeah, you can kind of throw out that Houston game because the weather was crazy there too. So I think Philly is garbage, complete garbage. So I think Cleveland, and it's an easy cover for me.
Yeah, Cleveland, especially seeing the tandem back, that Chubb, Kareem Hunt back. It's good to see them. Good to see Chubb healthy again, even though I'm sure people wanted to break another leg after they saw him run out of bounds, screwing up the spread, and I'm sure many fantasy football teams. But nice seeing Chubb back on the field. Moving on to our next game here, the Falcons playing at the Saints. Right now, the spread is New Orleans by 5. Ev, kicking it over to you.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's going to be hard for Atlanta to prepare for. We don't know what's going to expect, and the Saints find a way to win games. The Falcons find a way to lose games. So I'm going to take the Saints here. It is a tough cover. I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I don't think the Saints. I'm not like super confident in the Saints covering 5, but I'm going to take the Saints just purely out of the coaching and the gameplay. I think they proved last year that even with Drew Brees out, they can win games. I think Jameis will play well, so I'm going to take the Saints.
Yeah, I've got the Falcons in this game, definitely because of my mess. I'll admit it. But also, Falcons are riding a 2-game win streak, so they have been able to close out some closer games in the fourth quarter, which is kind of giving them some of that confidence again. I think rolling off a bye here, Gurley's getting that knee iced up. I think Ridley plays. I think the Falcons can come in and surprise a lot of people, and just especially. Moving on to the next game here, we got the Cincinnati Bengals playing at the Washington football team. Both teams are right around that 2-6, 2-7 marker. Washington is favored 1.5. Washington's your squad. Who you got?
Yeah, I mean, this is a toss-up for me, but I think if you look at the matchup, I think Seattle or Cincinnati is probably the better team, but the weakness on Cincinnati is offensive line, the strength on Washington is defensive line. And Chase Young, after that huge mistake last week, I think has a good game. So I'm going to take Washington at home, and I'm going to hope that J.D. McKissic. You all see that he got 15 targets last week, 2 straight weeks with like 15 targets. That's insane. It's J.D. McKissic. Yeah. But anyway, I'll take Washington at home.
You want me to go, Zivo?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm taking Cincy.
Nice. I'm going Cincy too, Sai. We're having a tendency of agreeing on this podcast here. I love it.
I'm telling you that this is a hard slate. I was going through it earlier. There's some hard picks on here, but lots of toss-up games.
There really are. Yeah. Okay. So the next game here is the Detroit Lions playing at the Carolina Panthers. Another tough game, guys. I'll maybe kick this one off here. Carolina's favored 1.5. I think Detroit not only covers, but I think they win that game. In fact, I have a steer with Kenny Golladay potentially coming back. Detroit will win this game. So if you're going to take this bet, I'd take the money line there, albeit it's only a 1.5 spread, so you're not going to win too much. But kicking it over to Sai here. What's your pick?
So my thing with this one is Stafford. I don't know what his finger situation is because I know he hurt it last week and he might be playing through it, but there's a chance that he's in effect and the backup. So that part makes me a little bit nervous, especially with Golladay coming off injury. Normally I'd pick the Lions, but in this instance, I'm going to pick the Panthers purely because I don't know what to expect out of Stafford and his hand this weekend.
Yeah, they said he tore a ligament in his thumb, but he's expected to play. I'm like, what? But we know Stafford's a savage. So, but is Bridgewater playing?
Yeah.
Because he got hurt as well, but he's fine.
Yeah, he
Oh, well, okay, yeah,
True.
that's a good question. Dang,
But McCaffrey is out, so there's just a mess of injuries here. So
jeez.
I always pick the Lions. I will here, but to Sai's point, the thumb makes me nervous on Stafford as well. So tough one.
Yeah.
makes sense. I think a matchup we can hopefully all agree on here is Pittsburgh playing at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Right now, the spread is 10. I'm going to go Pittsburgh here, just winning throughout. I'm not sure if they would cover that or not, but kicking it over to you. What do you got?
Yeah, Pittsburgh wins, but always bet a double-digit home underdog. That's a staple rule that I've learned. Shout out Barstool. So bet the Jacksonville cover.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Pittsburgh. I'm gonna take them beating the spread. I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna take them beating that 10 point spread. I'm taking Pittsburgh.
Okay, interesting. Moving forward here to another, I guess, an AFC matchup here with the Tennessee Titans playing at the Baltimore Ravens. Both teams are just looking for wins right now. If you watched both of their weeks last week, they did not look like 6-3 teams. However, that's where they're sitting. Right now, the spread is Baltimore 6.5 at home.
Yeah.
Ev, kicking it over to you. What you got in this one?
Yeah, another toss-up for me. I'll pick Baltimore, and if they screw me for the third straight week, I think this is the third straight week I've beaten them, and they obviously lost. So I'll pick them again at home, coming off a loss, but I don't like it. Sai?
All right, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Baltimore only because they're at home. I was basically gonna pick whichever team was at home because I don't have a definitive reason to pick one over the other. I think they both play very similar styles of football, so I'm gonna take the Ravens at home.
I'm going to take Tennessee in this one. I think they come out. I think they really, really bounce back. If for those of you who saw the Colts Tennessee game, first drive was one of the best drives I've ever seen in football this year. I mean, it was so methodical, and that was actually the touchdown that went to Deonta Foreman, not Derrick Henry, when he lined up in the fullback position. Regardless, I think the Tennessee comes out, and I think they get a win here. I just don't think their Baltimore's as good as I thought. So.
Big revenge
Moving
game, too,
Oh, yes. Good point.
from the playoffs last year. So I don't know how that factors in, but
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously. We'll have to see. It is a toss-up to your point, Ev. Moving on to our final 1 p.m.er, the New England Patriots are playing at the Texans. Right now, the spread is New England 2. Sai, kicking it over to you here.
This is actually so dang hard. I'm gonna go. They're at the Texans, but the Texans just scored 3 points regardless of weather. That's awful. I'm gonna take the Patriots, man. I said last week I took the Patriots over the Ravens because I felt like they were gonna start figuring it out a little bit. Now I'm with that. I'm taking the Patriots.
yeah, I think again another brutal pick. Like going at Houston makes me lean Houston a little bit. I'll pick the Patriots because I think they figured out a decent formula, which works better in bad weather. I will say, because that monsoon they had against Baltimore. But I'll pick the Patriots here. But yeah, don't feel good about this one either.
I am going to go Houston on this one, guys. I think Houston has more offensive firepower, and they show spurts of it from time to time. I think they just get the better half of New England early, and I think they're able to somewhat defend that lead to the very end. So I've got Houston in this one. Next 4 p.m. the Miami Dolphins playing at the Denver Broncos. Right now, the spread is Miami by 3. Is this a lock it in bet for Miami, or are you still staying away from this one?
No, I'm in on this one. I'm tired of the Lions disrespecting Miami. I mean, they did it last year with LA, and everyone assumed that the Chargers would come out and win because of what Vegas was telling them. And the Dolphins had no trouble. And the Broncos are awful. And Drew Lock might be out again, but maybe that's a good thing for them. I don't know. But they suck. So Miami, another good cover here, I think.
Yeah, this is my lock for the week too. The 3 point spread for Miami. I'm like I've said, I'm done with the disrespect. Like the Chargers make some sort of sense with them having a really good offense and Herbert playing the way that he's been playing, but this one makes zero sense to me in terms of the 3 point spread, even with them being home. So I'm taking Miami.
Sounds good. Next game here, Jets Chargers. I'll kick this one off. Right now, the spread is leaning. What is that? An 8? It is an 8. 8.5. The Chargers. I definitely think the Chargers win, but I don't think they cover. I think this is actually a relatively close game, despite the fact that Darnold is most likely going to be out. Sai, kicking it over to you here for this matchup.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Chargers, but I'm not gonna be all in on them covering or anything like that, like you said.
Yeah. Chargers not interested in the bet though. Zach, did you pick Miami as well in the last one though?
Thanks for the heads up there. Yeah, I will pick Miami.
All right.
It was so self-explanatory to me, that I was
Love
like, I
it.
don't even need to explain it here. Okay, but this one is an interesting one, and we will kick this over to Side because this is a Packers going to Indianapolis. The spread is to Indianapolis's way.
You know
Cy,
what?
happens?
You know what? I feel like I should go last so my bias and analysis doesn't play in. So I'm actually going to kick it to Ev.
He prefers going last on his, which is fair. Oh man, this is a tough one. I'm gonna take the Colts at home. The Packers haven't looked too good the last couple of weeks.
No, stop.
No, I mean, I think a lot of these NFC teams are in a similar boat. They're really starting to not play that well. I mean, the Packers didn't look too good against the Jaguars at home. I'm gonna take the Colts. I'm not confident in it, but I think the Colts are pretty darn good.
Guys, audience, this is another lock. How simple can I put it? This is a lock for the Packers money line. Take them. The Indianapolis Colts are favored 2 right now at home, and for Aaron Rodgers, playing in a dome is like playing at home. Effortless. You know how many times he's played in Dallas and he's just totally cooked them on AT&T Stadium. I think they get it done. I think the Packers get it done. Lazard's coming back. MVS is coming off 2 phenomenal games, and by the way, they still have a guy named Devontae Adams.
Who's
I think
injured?
that's a little bit too much.
He's questionable.
Wait, no, he's playing.
Yeah, he'll probably play, but he is questionable.
All right. Well, regardless, I've got the Packers here, money line stamp.
So Zach picked the Titans last week, and I think they lost by 3 scores. So I'm actually really glad he picked the Packers here because, by all means, I would not be surprised if the Packers won this game. They're a great team, one of the best teams they have, in my opinion. They're playing the Colts at home. But I kind of was hoping everybody would pick the Packers because I want that disrespect to keep coming our way, even though we go out there and show every week that we have the best defense in football. And I'm done with that take of arguing any other way. Pittsburgh Steelers, maybe have a conversation, but I'm done with our defense getting disrespect because if you're going to sit here and tell me Aaron Rodgers is an amazing quarterback, which you better sit here and point some damn respect to our defense that's been showing up every damn week and showing what they got. And now that our offense is clicking, Michael Pittman's playing better. I have no reason to think that anything is a lock against us. I'm fine if the Packers win, but by no means is that a lock. I'm taking my Colts to win this Sunday.
And to add to that, with the NFC teams point, I'm not convinced that a lot of these teams that we think of high scoring offenses, and I'm looking at Seattle, I'm looking at Green Bay, and I'm looking at Tampa Bay, I'm not convinced that they can really put up the kind of points that we assume that they're going to on good defenses. And I'm talking about good defenses like the ones we have out in the AFC, the Colts, the Steelers, like you mentioned. They beat up on a lot of the bad defenses. You look at the way Aaron played against Tampa Bay, I don't know. I trust the AFC teams more, I feel like, this year.
I respect that. The AFC is definitely, I would say, a better division. There's just more well-rounded team, in my opinion. But we'll actually flip it back to the NFC here for this matchup. Final 425 game. This is an interesting one here. Dallas Cowboys coming up their bye, playing at the Minnesota Vikings with a big win against Chicago. Right now, Minnesota is favored 7 at home. Ev, I'll kick it over to you. You got in this one.
Yeah, I'll take Minnesota. Congratulations to Kirk Cousins for his first win on Monday Night Football ever. But I'll take the Vikings.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to take Minnesota as well.
I'm going to take Minnesota, and I actually think they cover that spread. I'm a little lukewarm in that because I could actually see the Cowboys coming out by and actually putting up some numbers under McCarthy for the first time. So by no means would I bet on this game, but I do feel confident. I think Kirk's going to have a good game. And also quick shout out to Adam Thielen wearing the Alex Trebek sneakers. That was phenomenal. Obviously, just what an icon. Leading Jeopardy for years and years and years. It was awesome to see that gratitude and that level of respect from Thielen's end. So it was always good to see. Switching over to our Sunday night game. The Kansas City Chiefs are looking for redemption against the Las Vegas Raiders. Right now, Kansas City is favored 7.5. They're playing in the Death Star in Vegas. Cy, I'll kick this one over to you. You got.
Okay, so this is a line to watch because apparently more than half the Raiders defense, if not more, is currently on the COVID list. Like not all of them have been directly, tested positive. So a few tested positive. The other ones are going to keep testing, and there's a chance they return. But that makes this line one to watch, because if everybody was healthy, it wouldn't be a crazy notion. I think the Raiders could maybe pull it off again. But even if everybody was healthy, I'd pick the Chiefs. I might pick the Chiefs to cover if they don't change this line and these guys aren't back healthy. I'm taking the Chiefs in this one.
I actually really like this as well, partially because of the COVID news. But even without the COVID news, the Chiefs, they sneaky have a little chip on their shoulder after the Raiders knocked them off in Arrowhead. And there was that thing that came out about the Raiders taking a victory lap in the bus or whatever it was. I don't know if you guys saw that. So I think they're coming into this with a chip on their shoulder, coming off a bye week. Even without COVID, I like this as a cover for me, and a Chiefs win, which is a lot. 7.5 on the road at Vegas. Vegas is good. I like Vegas, but
couldn't agree more with both of you guys. I think Kansas City comes out. I think they play angry. I think they play really angry. I think Andy Reid has got something specially on just Gruden himself. I mean, Andy Reid did not have nice words to say about the coaching staff there after that, after the shenanigans post game when the Raiders won the first time. I just think the Raiders lack deep threat talent. I know that they just drafted Ruggs, but if you look at statistics, they're one of the worst teams in the league with plays over 25 yards. So it's definitely something to keep track of, because they're playing against a team that is number 1 in plays over 25 yards. So just something to keep in mind. Finally here, I'll kick this one off. The Monday night game. What a phenomenal finish to this week 11 here is the Los Angeles Rams at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Both teams have 3 losses here. Tampa Bay is favored by 4 off that phenomenal performance against Carolina. I am going to go – this is tough. I'm going to go Tampa Bay's way, and I think AB finally has his first good game of the season. I think I'm going to say he has over, I'd say 80 yards and a touchdown there. I think this is going to be his breakout game, and I think it has a large portion of Jalen covering Godwin and Mike Evans on the outside. I think AB in the slot goes off.
Godwin in the slot usually. But
outside guy, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Tampa Bay. Whitworth being down hurts a lot, and they're at home. Tough one though. I could see it going either way.
Yeah. So AB, he had a pretty decent game this weekend. So I think he's like kind of working his way back in, because this weekend I think he was like 6 of 9 for 60 or 70 yards. So he's getting those targets. The 4-point spread seems a little bold, given the fact that both these teams have the same record, and the Rams are also coming off a pretty big win. So that's where I look at it.
Can I honorable mention one thing? I got my Major League Wiffle shirt on because the World Series is coming up. I don't know when they upload their videos on YouTube. I think they've done it on Fridays the last couple of weeks. World Series coming up. Great Lakes Gators made the World Series. They're trying to go worst to first. I've got Gators in a 3-game series winning the World Series, but keep an eye on that. Go search them on YouTube. It's pretty fun. It's my favorite part of the Friday, dude.
We don't miss any sports Mondays down south. We don't miss any sports here. We will not miss sports here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you as always. You guys got any last words, Zach and Evan? I think I've got his, so Zebo.
I got mine.
Yeah. My last word is actually called competitive plastic ball, based on our middle school and high school days of balling out in your backyard, just whacking a wiffle ball as hard as we could. So, I think it's called American competitive plastic ball, but we can go with wiffle ball for the time being.
These guys played straight up, man. They're legit. But yeah, that's all I got. Thanks to the new subscribers last week as well. Please hit the like button and subscribe. That was Mondays Down South. Catch y'all next week.